Hello, good evening, Oral Gibbs, and I'm Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live, coming to you live here from World Star Studios at Amsterdam Shopping Center. And with me this evening is none other than Mr. Emilio Calmero. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, Harold?
It's good to have you in the program, thanks. And so how are things going these days?
Well, things are pretty much busy, very busy. But busy is always good, huh? So you stay out of trouble.
You make it, buddy.
Yeah.
It's hard to make money these days, that's about it, huh?
Yeah. For some people, no, and some people, yes. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing because sometimes you can work hard, and they tell you work hard, you make money, be successful, and sometimes you work hard, and you just can't see the money.
No, to me, you have to work smart.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I have developed over some time, through experience. You try to work smarter, you build systems that allow you to be able to work smarter, not harder necessarily.
So instead of killing yourself working 18 hours, you work 12 hours and you make more than if you're working 18, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to speak with you tonight about finances and so forth, and we're going to start off with management because I think that's key.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you always hear Donald Trump bragging about he went to Wharton School of Business. What do you think about management? How do you think?
You see, management is not really a complex subject. Huh? Everything that you do deals with management. Family, you have a family. In terms of family planning, that's also have to do with management. You have a pension plan, you have to manage it. Everything in life has to do with management. And people tend to take things for granted a lot. Even with, they have a good salary. For example, I met a lady who makes much more money than me, but she have not achieved the stuff that I have achieved.
Yeah.
Simply because she don't know how to manage her finances. So management seems very simple to a lot of people, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's very complex because of all the choices that you have out there in the world. You know, and if you get caught up in the wrong type of choices, it has a long-term effect.
So many years ago, it was so simple. You'll hear elderly people saying, a penny saved, a penny earned.
Not anymore. You know what I mean? Because now you have so much of different variables, banks, global currency changes, et cetera. So for example, let's say you used to invest in dollars and used to buy a lot of stuff from Europe. Now you have a situation when the euro coming now, it affects everything, you know. So planning now is very complicated, you know, and to manage complexity is a challenge, but you have to, it's like a muscle, you know, when you want to get muscles or whatever, you have to train it. So in complexity, you also have to train within complexity as well to manage complexity.
But no, like you mentioned that my journal in Europe, and if they want to go to the bank to convert the dollars to euro, they're watching to see, and 1 cent makes a huge difference.
Of course, especially if you're talking about changing big money. You know, and how do you manage complexity when it comes to currencies? Well, then if you want to, it depends though. If you're a business person and you have to do a lot of trade globally, it's best to open a foreign exchange account. And it's not really for speculation, because you can do, most people speculate with currencies, but for you it's to hedge. In other words, to make sure that, hey, when time comes to order my goods, I know that I won't be too off depending on how the currency moves.
Right.
So it's how do you manage complexity?
How do you think we are doing in Simran in terms of management from the household to business to government?
Obviously, it's not good. I mean, when you're managing a small island like this, you have to take so much different variables into consideration. For example, our waste. If you see the stories now with our waste situation, now that could have been foreseen donkey years ago. And it was foreseen, but why we didn't put things in place to manage that is beyond me. And so when you're talking about growth, okay, how do you manage growth? Everything you have to manage. You have your citizens, which is your population is growing. You want to get more cruise tourism, fine, but then that comes with waste as well. You want to get more stay-over tourism, that comes with waste as well. So how do you manage that? You know, if you could find a way to get waste, people come in and waste, and you could use that waste effectively, that's all good. But if the waste is going to stay on your landfills, then you're not managing it properly. You see? So it's a lot of complexities you have to manage, and in my experience, most people don't know how to handle complexities. They take things very simple.
But they think we're just not up to it?
No, we're not up to par. I mean, let's be real. You know, most of the time people don't understand society on a whole. They don't understand complex things. For example, let's look at the operation of an aircraft. That's a very complex operation. but society is also complex.
Right.
But in aviation, though, you have to have professionals understand the complexity. Like a simple thing as the change of temperature could render, for example, when you're not able to land in Sabre. And just by a few changes in the temperature. In society, you have those same things. A change in population could cause this effect. You know what I mean? A change in the imbalance in wealth and in income could cause a different effect. You know, so it's very complex, and you need to manage it properly. And you don't have to apologize to making certain decisions, because sometimes you have to make hardcore decisions. You know, in my home, I do the same thing. You know, if for example, my wife doesn't do certain things that would benefit the family, then I have to chop off certain benefits.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
But you know, like you mentioned that we have a computer system. The first one I purchased was back in 2002. Mm-hmm. At that time, the company had outsourced most of the products. Mm-hmm. All they had was just a motherboard, and everything else was made by many companies. So they had like 150, 200 different parts making up this whole system. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't reliable.
Right.
It always had a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. What they did to stop that about 7 years ago, brought everything in-house, started doing the system themselves, yeah. And guess what? It's a lot more, it's 95% more reliable, yeah. And it's much smaller, and they can control it a lot better.
Yeah, I agree with you. For example, I tell people, I always tell people when I was younger, I want to retire young. And that's what I'm going to do. That's how I put that in my heart, and that's what I'm aiming to do. And in order to do that, I have to manage almost every aspect of my life. And if something doesn't go according to the plan, I have to just reroute and do a different type of plan, but I have to stay focused on what that plan is. For a country, it's the same thing. You cannot water down stuff because this type of person come to your island and so on. So you cannot do it. Because then the problem is, it's like an ocean. If you set sail on an ocean without a particular plan direction, where are you going to go?
But when you look at St. Martin, don't you think we're lucky because we've gotten so far with very, very little planning?
Yeah, but it comes back to bite you later on.
It's coming back now.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I told people already, short-term and mid-term things are all fine. You have to look at the long-term effects. And that's one of the things I do. I always analyze trends. Yeah. And so people tend to get vexed on me on Facebook, you know what I mean, when I say certain comments. One of them was, I don't invest really in St. Martin. Why? It wasn't by choice, huh? When I started to look for land way back in the days, and I started looking at the prices, and then I said, but if I buy a property for this price, when am I going to build? So when I started to look at outside of St. Martin for property, and the deals that was out there, it was just, you know what I mean, unbelievable. So it forced me to actually invest outside of St. Martin. You know what I mean?
But you know, if you go back to 1991, 92, 93, you could have gotten a piece of land in Union Farm at the time, and for around $13,000 to $15,000. That same piece of land today, some 24 years later, is going for around $60,000. That's a huge.
But you see, what I like with some countries, they build in a speculation, preventing speculation. Huh? So what they do, they would say, okay, and that's why I like the concept of property tax to some extent, not 100%, but I understand what it's for. For example, if you want to speculate and tell the appraiser to jack up the price by 200%, no problem, but you're just going to pay for it in the property tax in terms of every year. So then, therefore, you would rather not pay so much property tax. So therefore, you would keep the price of the land in check. You know, or you can have a bracket of, okay, if the price of the property is between so and so, you pay one fee. So it's progressively going up higher. So it prevents speculation.
But don't you think that St. Martin is a little different because we've had a lot of casinos here. Our development in hotels was without brand names. And then you get people coming in willing to pay top dollars for real estate. And then the average working family now is shut out of the market because they just can't compete anymore.
It's like what I said, when you make short-term and mid-term decisions, right? And there's not the right kind of decisions, it always comes back in the long-term effects. So what you're seeing happening now in St. Martin is that whole short-term decision-making is playing out now in a negative way.
Now, when you look at management, there's some schools of thought to say, well, you know, too much management by government is not good. How you feel about that?
I agree with you because at the end of the day, if you have households that are properly managed, right, they kind of understand what government is doing wrong as well. Because if you can manage your household properly, it means then you have a kind of understanding of what management is about. In other words, you have your kids, they're properly schooled, they're properly mannered, you always pay your bills on time, you're saving, you have a reserve fund. You know, that is proper management. You see, oftentimes what I see is that's not in place. You have people making kids and they don't have no family planning in place. You know, and so I had a time was me and the former director of Smart and Housing, and we had a discussion, and I told him I believe in I said that when, for example, you terminate kids before they are born, and he disagreed with me, and I told him, look, I find by the hospital you interview people, and when you interview for a particular purpose, you interview them, and you find out that this person cannot take care of this child. The family structure is not there, etc., etc. It might be best then to terminate that child before it happens, right? Because what you've seen happen now, people are breeding children, and then you've seen the effects now. He didn't agree with me in the beginning. Then we started to see things playing out in Samaritan. Then he came back one day and said, "Boy, yeah, boy, I see where you're coming from now." You see, it's not because it's something that I think is good. It's just the fact that how we mismanage the whole concept of immigration, family planning, all those type of things. It's just mismanaged.
So, you know, it looks like if you have too much mismanagement on the family level, household, it's not good for a country.
No, it's not. It's not. You know, everything is based on management. You know, proper management. So you can't really talk about proper governance if you don't have proper management.
No, wait. So then what you're saying, they are connected?
I find they're connected. They're very much connected. You see what I mean? Because if you cannot manage your household properly, how are you going to manage on a higher level? You see, because a country is a very complex thing. You're dealing with so much different complexities.
And I think that is true because if you look at St. Martin today, you know, before 10-10-10, I used to have a parade of politicians on this program. And they all were saying, we got to get away from Curacao. When we get away from Curacao, we're going to have money canned done. We're going to have a lot of money. We'll be walking on streets of gold. Well, 5 years later, and we are seeing misery on this island.
Well,
where's the money?
Yeah, but in theory they were right. It's just that the money was for them. That's the difference. And if you see how they set up themselves, they set up themselves really good.
Like good salaries.
Yeah, look, good salaries is good if you're producing something. In other words, if you have productivity going on. It's like we were discussing it a little earlier.
Right.
Trade is very simple. Is once you produce something and bring it to market, you know what I mean? That's for somebody to buy. And then when somebody buy it, you get your payment back. But if you getting paid money and you're not producing anything into the market to be able to buy by folks, then what justifies the salary you're getting really? You understand? You're creating imbalances that way because you have people that are really producing and collecting peanuts, and people are not producing and collecting all the money. So that's an imbalance right there.
Have you had a chance to read the Transparency International report on St. Martin?
I started to read it, but I had to put it down.
Because that in itself make reference to, not in the words of management, but it's that we have problems, and even from our political parties, etc. and so forth. So it seems like the problem on this island are really huge.
Yeah, the problem is that what I tell people, when you leave, problems accumulate. It comes twice, and then it goes to 3 times, 4 times harder to solve the problem. And that's where we are now. So when you have certain leadership or whatever, do cartel farming with certain individuals or whatever, reaping millions, that's fine for them. The problem is the money you make then is fine for you. But the amount of money is needed to fix the problems later on is almost 4 or 5 times that's what you accumulated.
But we're a billion guilder economy. And for a billion guilder economy, we shouldn't have the kind of problems we have.
No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't. Because if you look at simple St. Bart's, why does St. Bart's don't have the same problems we do? You understand? Like I said, when you create imbalances, it's very difficult. For example, the SZV system, the healthcare system, can never survive with the type of income distribution that we have. It can never. Because you have to pay a percentage of your income for SZV. If I'm making 1,200, 1,300 guilders, compare that, a 2% on that compared to what I'm spending by the healthcare. It's impossible. There's no way. There's no way you can sustain that.
Well, the average person watching this program will say, well, Mr. Calimero, they just gave a company $10 million for 60 days. They got money.
Well, that's a whole other kind of worms again. The first question I would ask is, why would the harbor need, for example, that type of money for 3 months? I mean, can't they somehow, the harbor is supposed to be making money. If you tell me it was for a year, so be it, 3 months, and harbor can't have that type of money for 3 months to pay that. I don't get it. It doesn't add up to me. I don't think they're asking the right questions either. You understand? Because something don't add up to me. It's the same thing when, sadly to say, when I was in, I used to be part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and then they put me in the budget committee, and then I'm a financial guy, and if certain things don't make sense to me, I'm gonna tell you don't make sense to me. And if you give me a response as, oh, that's the way it has been throughout all the time, well, I say, well, then it has been nice, but I think I'm going to leave now.
Yeah.
You see? Because when things don't make sense to me, I'm going to tell you don't make sense to me. It just don't add up. And this thing don't add up.
You know, it's, when you look at St. Martin and government-owned companies, and you know, let's move back a little bit. You go to a company, you want to see how healthy a company is. You're going to look at the balance sheet, right?
Yeah, you look at the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, and income. All of them have a particular role to play. Okay, the balance sheet is a snapshot of all your assets that you own, all your liabilities. The cash flow statement corrects the income statement to some extent, because income, I can make income look anyway. I can manipulate the income statement in different ways. But the cash flow statement would tell me more or less what's really going on as well. So I look at all three aspects. You know, in the past, I used to focus more on income statement. I more focus on the cash flow statement to some extent, because at the end of the day, cash is king. And cash, you can really see what's happening in the business. But if you don't get those reports, how do you make sound decisions?
So you can't see how healthy the government is.
I mean, I have shares in companies in the United States, and every quarter they come up with their financials, and I review the financials to see, hey, should I keep the company shares or not? You know what I mean? Depending on what they're saying and what management is saying, etc.
Well, there's some government-owned company that still can't produce a financial report for what, dating back to 2013.
It's sad though, because if you look at who's the accountants making big money, it's strange they can't produce financial statement in record time.
So all over we are seeing that there are problems in management.
Yeah, it's all about management. And the question is, who do you put there? Because if you put somebody there, there's no guarantee that that person will be able to change stuff. But we don't have a good idea if you put new people there, you understand? If those new persons will be able to change stuff, because we are always recycling. You understand? So there's always usually the same people going back again.
Right.
So there's no way of determining, okay, is it the people that are recycling is the problem, or what if we try new persons to see if it will work, and if it doesn't work, then we know for a fact we really have a structural problem.
Yeah, but then you have to have a certain pedigree to be on boards. You know, their profession. I don't want to use the wrong term or to insult anyone here, so I'm going to go back on what I was going to say, and that is that to be on a board in St. Martin for a government-owned company or foundation requires a particular kind of skill. It's not necessarily mean good management skills, but good doggy trick skills. So, and I don't you get my point here.
Yeah, I get your point.
And I think that's why we have problems, and that's why what you just said about recycling people is what we got, basically. So we will never get out the problem, although we are saying, well, okay, we have a lot more educated people in St. Martin, like you and others. Why is it we have still all these management problems?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's like I said, it's who you put on boards as well. For example, if you look at St. Martin Housing Development Foundation right now, and you look at who's the chairman of that foundation, the supervisory board, did we really did a profile, I call it in Dutch a profile sketch? Does he fit that particular profile sketch to be a chairman, et cetera, because it's what I've seen is it's really a racket, to be honest with you, you know. And if you put persons in certain positions that are not capable of managing, you know what I mean, you're gonna get the results that we're seeing now, and you can't cry wolf, because that's what you wanted, that's what you put in place. So you can't expect any other way.
But we got to be careful here, because I remember I went to Curacao in 1985 to do a program. And Curacao was a mess. The government was a mess.
Yeah.
The government had purchased hotels that they couldn't operate, etc. And if we're not careful, we're going to end up like the way Curacao was back in the 80s, right here in St. Martin.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Curacao you have a lot of intellectuals in Curacao as well.
Right.
And that comes to another point. You could put intellectuals on boards. The problem is you cannot leave them there for too long either. The human being have a tendency to, when they get too comfortable in certain positions, they tend to become a little bit more lenient, so to speak. And so you should recycle them ideally after 4 years. Worst case scenario after 8 years, and that's my opinion. You know what I mean? And it's based on findings that I've seen.
So now that St. Martin is October 10th will make 5 years now. I said to you earlier about all the promises. I've never seen this island in such a bad situation right now as we are.
Yeah.
You can see that this island is being mismanaged. You can see the conflict within the CFT and St. Martin. And it looks like we're not going to get out, and it's kind of scary.
I don't think we're going to get out of it. It's like poor planning is one aspect of it. Cash flow management is another aspect of it. Poor investment decisions is another aspect of it. You have to invest in your society if you want to reap the benefits. Because it may be a longer term effect, but you have to really invest in your society, in the bonding of your society, in the productivity of your society before you get any sound effects. It's like Norway, for example. Norway have a sovereign fund.
Sovereign fund.
Sovereign fund. Sorry, yeah. And how did they get that?
It's in the billions.
Yeah, it's in the billions. Basically, with that fund alone, they can give the population each maybe 60,000, 70,000 of their currency.
In fact, there's no country in the world that can compare to them on that sovereign fund that they have.
So that takes management.
Planning.
That's planning, management, you know, and have the people at heart. In the same way, I want to give my customers top-notch customer service, but I give my internal customers, which is my employees, I treat them like crap. How that can trickle down to my end customer? It won't.
So you see, I'm listening to you, and I was speaking with a lady yesterday on a program I taped that's going to air soon, and she was saying you have to invest in your children.
Yeah, of course.
That's your legacy.
Yeah, and that's not only money, huh?
Yeah.
That's time, going out, vacationing together, different things together.
But now let's move it now to a country. A country, the government have to invest in its people, in its citizens.
Yeah.
We're not doing that here.
No. And there's good ways to do it. We have the systems in place, like for example, community councils, but they're not being utilized the way it should be utilized. Right. Because then within the community council, they can feed back to the government body to say, okay, this is the problems that we have, et cetera, et cetera. Now, to me, ideally, a community council should have certain things in place, like we call that thing community farming. Yeah. Key things that can help society, especially if someone loses a job. Yeah. You know what I mean? They can assist the community council, so therefore the productivity doesn't stop. It keeps mobilizing.
Right.
And so it's all about thinking about different things that can happen. What if we get a natural disaster, for example? You have to be able to mobilize the community council to be able to have people that can have skill to build up stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just a matter of being creative and thinking outside the box.
Again, coming back to your management again, even there, you got to have the management.
But I want to say I found a definition of management, and I found it was very interesting. It's from Wikipedia. It says, management in business and organizations is a function that coordinates the efforts of people to accomplish goals and objectives by using available resources efficiently and effectively. There's a lot of good words there. Coordinate, it mentions people, it mentions goals and objectives, by using available resources efficiently and effectively.
Now, you know, Mr. Camara, I didn't study in the Netherlands. I'm American educated. But if you look at the Netherlands, the history of that country, how they've been able to manage their resources and everything else, and trade, you name it. I ask myself, with all the people that we had on this island that went to the Netherlands and got an education, and they came back home to St. Martin, I don't see success.
No.
I don't see the transferring of that knowledge from a great country like the Netherlands in these people. And I'm sorry, I'm not putting on anyone here. I'm saying when you take a look at the engineering. You drive around this island. We have a lot of engineers that study in the Netherlands. You ask yourself, how did they allow all these things to happen? We have people to study in Holland, government administration. How did they allow all this to happen? It seems as if we are part of this great little country, because the Netherlands is not a big country, but it ranks up there in the top 10 internationally, okay? And many of our people that studied there came back home, and some came back home stupider than when they left.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that. And I'm not putting on anyone here, but I'm disappointed, really.
Well, you have that as well. Before I go to my point, you need to understand there's great money to be made in inefficiency. Yeah? When things are very inefficient, some group makes very,
saying
very
it's by
lot of
design?
money. By design. I studied in the Netherlands. I was fortunate to study in Holland, United States, and England. So I got to see three different aspects of how people do stuff. I personally didn't like Holland too much, but if you tell me to do it again, I would definitely go Holland again, because what I've learned. I've learned a lot of stuff in Holland that I would have never learned if I stayed in the States, for example. You understand? So Holland can teach you a lot, but the problem is if you come to an environment, right, where you have monopolies, cartels, or whatever, and so you bring in your new insights back here, which is efficient. Remember, you cannot make, and most of the time in St. Martin, people make their money from inefficiency. You understand? But now we reach a stage now, though, that if you're...
No, wait a minute here. I don't want to believe that. I mean, look, I'm here. This program, when we started, used to have 5 people working. It's all replaced by computers. We're very, very efficient, extremely efficient, okay? I'll be losing money if I wasn't efficient.
Yeah. But the context, your context is different than the context I'm referring to. To me, it's very inefficient to have a building sitting for how much years, unoccupied, whatever, but somebody made money from it. You understand? So somebody's making money from it.
So you're saying the political establishment thrives on inefficiency.
But that's what they do. It won't benefit a lot of times for certain institutions to be efficient. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Government can become very efficient, but then that would mean that a lot of staff would not be needed.
Then the ripple effects will be great too on an island like this now.
Exactly.
It will mean that you'll have a lot of families that won't have a job.
That is one thing, but you can also create new jobs as well. There's a lot of jobs to be created in the green industry, for example, in the recycling part of it, in biodiesels. You can create a numerous amount of different types of jobs that you can take out some of those civil servants and for example, put them in different, you know what I mean?
So when you look at how this country is being managed, there was a time when government was not the largest employer. Today, government is the largest employer. Today, we have 5 people doing the job of what one used to do. That is not good management at all.
Yeah, but the thing is too, I remember when I went to work for RBTT Bank, there was a gentleman doing the bad loans type of thing, right? Where people wasn't paying, et cetera, et cetera. But because of the score system, it was the ABN AMRO system, it was not really efficient. So the reporting part of it was not really good. It was very lacking. So he was doing our reports in Excel, taking him about 4 to 5 days to complete. I came in and said, that's what you're doing? Okay, I sat down with him. I basically sat and watched what he was doing and automated it in Access, because I have some programming skills. So the same thing he was doing in 5 days took him 1 day to do now. You know what he tell me? But you're going to cost me my job. That's what he told me. So it's like you're having a automatic screwdriver, and you prefer to have a manual one because the hours, you want more hours. So,
Well, it's amazing because it all depends on what you're doing. On a small scale, if you're not efficient, you're in trouble because sometimes the income decreases and you can't survive.
no, but you have to become efficient. That's what. But I'm trying to say, like, as a paradox, you have to become in this environment now. You cannot make money no longer, or the majority cannot make money no longer on inefficiency, because the system is so imbalanced, right? The only way you're going to make money now, you have to be very efficient. You see, and that's the concept we applied in, especially under Henry Lynch's vision in terms of building homes. We applied the concept of efficiency and doing most of the stuff in-house. So you cut out a lot of middle persons. That's how we was able to be so successful in building homes below $200,000.
So now we need to have this efficiency in terms of management throughout the entire government.
I mean, maybe I'm assuming they're working on it. I would hope that they're working on it, but it's going to be costly, though. Huh?
Let me tell you something. Maybe look, I've been around a long time. I always say here in this program that before 10-10-10, I had a lot of politicians parading here. They lied to the people. They told them everything was going to be great, and it turned out just the opposite. And I have lost a lot of confidence in people. Sometimes I look back at myself and I say, wow, I couldn't believe that they took me for a ride too. And today now, what the government is doing is just looking at those of us that they call that are in the system. And we now have to carry the burden, the tax burden, all the problems. And then you have people come to this island. They claim to be investing, but they're not investing. They're just taking. And the government is just turning onto people like you and I. We have to carry all of that burden. And when you look at this billion guilder economy, and you tell me that it was going to be better, and today we have so many families and the problems that they're having, and it's so hard to make money, and opportunity is there, but then there's so much insider trading. I am angry.
Yeah, I'm angry too. The question is, you can talk about all the problems, but what are the solutions for it? I think we had this discussion already. With the system going the way it's going, the only inevitable is gonna collapse. It's gonna collapse in such a way that a lot of people are gonna get hurt. A lot of people are gonna lose a lot of different things before it's gonna get better. That's my opinion, because if there's no change from the top, who have the ability to do change, then we have a problem. And this boils back to a discussion I had with a gentleman. Totally, he disagreed with me completely. That's fine. And he believes in capitalism. I tell him I don't believe in nothing. Because the problem is that certain times you have to do capitalism, sometimes you have to do communism. It all depends on the context. Because sometimes you have to be a dictator until things stabilize, and you go back to that context that fits that way. For example, if you have a natural disaster, and you got some people got a bunch of billions of stuff here, you have to be a dictator in order to redistribute the wealth. Once that has been done, then you could go back to being whatever. So it's all context driven. So I cannot say I love capitalism, I love communism, I love whatever. It really depends on the situation, because everything's changed. Everything has to do with change. And people fail to realize that.
Yeah. Very, very, very little respect even given to those other civil servants who were there before them, who have since retired. And they kind of, the way they're treated when they walk into a government office, you can't believe. In other countries, when the person was a civil servant and retired, they're treated a lot more respect than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, it's sad.
I mean, you wouldn't know because, but I know many of the people and I see how they're treated. And
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to management, like you were saying, because people who are managing these ministries, etc., needs to be up on the ball with them.
But to be honest with you, like I had a discussion today about something similar. For example, the type of business I want to do, let's say I have other staff I'm relying on. I would have a person come in as if they're a customer, but at the time they're actually grading, or that they're the ones that actually going to be giving me feedback and saying, okay, I think your customer service is bad or whatever. Because it's like the same thing should apply in government. You should have someone come in as if they're a customer, and then that's how you manage those type of things as well.
Let me take a call for you. Oral Gibbs Live and caller. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Are you a guest?
Good evening. Good evening.
Mr. Calavera,
How you doing?
I'm not going to hesitate to tell you that although I'm a great-headed old man, speaking in terms comparison to you, I enjoy hearing speaking.
Oh, thank you,
Why?
Doc.
Because what you are saying makes sense. It is like the old folks used to say. It puts you to pick sense out of nonsense. And there are some other young persons on the island like you also. But somehow they are not a kind of a consultative, and they are not encouraged to be involved. And I tell you this much, what Oral Gibbs is doing, it is a step in the right direction, because he is inviting you youngsters and encouraging you to utilize what knowledge you have gained and studied for. And that is the way it should be.
Mr. Lake,
I'm enjoying it.
Mr. Lake, you know what I like about this gentleman, Mr. Calamero, is that he's willing. He always wants to share his knowledge with others, and that is hard to find on this island with young people. And I just wish they had more like him.
Yes,
You there?
it is true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but thanks for calling.
There are more, you know.
I know, and I want to find them. And if they're out there, let me know. I'm going to have another young person. Last night we had someone, but because they had the problem with cable TV, we couldn't go on last night. But that young man will be on to again. We're trying to get as many young people.
I'm enjoying him very much.
Thank you.
Continue,
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
Calamera,
Thank you, Doc.
and continue the good job.
Okay,
you,
thanks.
thank
Good
you.
night. All right.
Until
Good night. Yeah, and what he's saying is so true, you know. And sometimes there are some people, young people, that they try to get them, and it's very difficult. That they want to, they're not sure of themselves, or they're afraid that if they say something that people might not agree. But look, this is the world. And you don't have to be afraid, and people should respect you for your opinion. And I like what you're doing. You really always want. Every time I call you, you're always there. That's important.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah. See, the thing is too, Oral, I believe in sharing for a number of reasons. First of all, when people are smarter and they understand more about the environment around them, etc., they become contributors. You know what I mean? And that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that when you know a lot of different things and people don't know it, you can't hold stuff. It makes you crazy to some extent. So you need to find a way to let it out. And that's how I try to do it. That's why Facebook has become my let out, where I try to share different things with people. And when I learn certain stuff that don't make any sense, you've been taught one way in school, and then you come to find out it's not really like that. I tend to try to share that information with the hopes that people grasp it, and then they contact me. We try to see how we can make changes together. Yeah. Unfortunately, you don't get that type of response. Unfortunately,
I'm never calling, but sometimes I call locals, locals in various professions, and invite them, and then they will say, well, I'll get back to you. Some of them never get back to you. And others will say yes, and then at the last minute they'll change their mind. And that's why when you hear me speaking earlier about especially those of our people that were educated in Holland, is why I'm very disappointed, because knowledge is supposed to be transferred. And when you look at this island and where we are today, and this country, has invested a lot of money in many of these people.
Yeah, you know.
And they don't want to give back anything. And I think that's kind of selfish too.
It is selfish. If you look at the budget for government, education is one of the highest budget figures out there. And if you say you're getting a good return on that investment, I beg to differ, but you know what I mean? And that's a huge problem.
So productivity is also a big problem, Mr. Mara.
It's very much so. Because like I said, you have to match the type of money you get in with productivity.
Explain for us before we continue what is productivity. So I want my audience to know what productivity really is.
Productivity basically means that in any job description, you have a basic standard that you have to accomplish. Some people might think that, oh, I go beyond and do something else. It's not really so. That's the basic. Beyond would be once you cover the basic minimum and you go beyond that to do certain extra that's not in that description, then of course that's like, you know, that's beyond the productivity level that you're talking about. In St. Martin, you have a situation where people don't even meet the basic requirement of their job description. In other words, they don't fulfill the basic part of the description. So for example, if you work up front desk and someone comes to you in the morning, the first thing you should say is, "Hi, good morning, how are you doing? How can I help you today?" You don't get that. And that's basic.
Yeah,
you understand? So that's what I mean. You have the basic and then you have the surplus on top of that. You know what I mean? The little extras. You understand? And that's just don't happen.
The employee wants the customer to be the one to greet them first. Or you walk into a company and you say good morning and they don't answer you.
Yeah, exactly. You get that a lot. I get that a lot as well. Or they try to ignore you for some reason. Or maybe they don't like you, so they ignore you. But not realizing that if that's your role, play your role as best as you can.
But that has to do with management.
It has to do with management.
Because if you're a manager and you have people below you, they should be trained that once they're on the job, doesn't matter who walks through that door, it's different. Outside the door is another story, but that person is a client. You got to treat that client like you treat every other client.
Of course.
Unfortunately, that's not the case in
No, it's not the case. Unfortunately, it's not the case. There's one study that I did when I was studying in England. It's called Business and Services Marketing. So it kind of goes you through a whole flow of what can happen when a customer comes to that door, and it kind of flows the whole process of what can happen at the end to see what the gaps could be within that customer service setting. And within that, you learn a lot of different things that you're doing wrong. You understand? And it tells you what are the basics from that particular job description, what is considered extra, et cetera, et cetera. Because you can't take extra and think it's the if you don't cover the basic or you give an extra, it doesn't make sense. You understand? So it's a whole it's all about knowledge at the end of the day.
Showing up late for work is also a productivity problem.
Yeah, it is. Because what if someone have to go to work as well, and they decide to come to your business first, so they take a little half an hour off from the job to come to you, and then you reach late. So then that whole process now, you're not fulfilling your customer service role or your business role. You were supposed to open at 8, and I'm coming there, taking time off my busy schedule to come to and then you more vexed than I am.
And when you look at St. Martin, for example, St. Peter's area where all the schools are, that's a drain on productivity because a lot of people have to get up early, get caught in traffic. You get it's enormous.
It's very inefficient. Very inefficient. But that has to do with management again. That's poor planning, poor everything. Why would you throw all schools in one area? I've never understood that. You know what I mean? And only now they're trying to put schools in different areas. But you see, you're always going to feel the pinch in the long term.
But you see, you got to remember that in the days when St. Martin was really beginning to move, everything was just done haphazardly. You know, it wasn't really thought out, well, you know, this will happen if we do this. You know, we have places in St. Martin today where I don't know if the wall is in the road or the road is in the wall, but you're driving, Walker-Lady Road is a clear example. There's a property there and there's no sidewalk and big trucks are passing and there's a wall right there. So I don't know if the wall is in the road or the road is in the wall.
That's a good one.
You know, and those are problems we have.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's to show you that it's uncontrolled growth. And I can appreciate what Anguilla did with the moratorium. You remember once I had a point in time when Anguilla was skyrocketing. Investors coming in like crazy. Anguilla said, oh, hold up. I think we need to put a moratorium first to see, okay, the development that is here, Let's see how they're going to affect our infrastructure, our people, etc., etc. And then we could see whether we're going to accept more things or not. So that was a good response. And had they not done that, they probably would have grown to a level that now would affect them. Because right now they're in a recession, so to speak. So you imagine now you would have bringing all these people to come and work, etc., etc. The recession happened. Now you have people not working. You get the crime would have been even more hideous.
And look at us now. We have brought in so many people, and still we have a huge unemployment among young people.
Yeah, of course.
So maybe we need to look at immigration now and how things will.
But everything, to be honest with you, everything stems from immigration. Justice have such a big role to play that they don't even know it. Yeah. You understand? Immigration affects everything. One human being affects everything, because one human being comes with waste, problems, etc., etc. And especially if you have a human being that is not highly educated, doesn't know how society operates or whatever, and you bring in more of those type of people, you're making a complex society for yourself.
That's what we're getting right now.
Yeah. It's very complex. Because now the problem we have in St. Martin is that if you go to Jamaica, for example, they have a lot of Jamaicans with problems, but it's Jamaicans, primarily Jamaicans.
Yeah.
So you know what to expect. In St. Martin, you don't only have Jamaicans. You have Spanish, you have this and that. Imagine all these melting pot of problems from these different environments coming together in one pot. You know what you're gonna get?
It's amazing.
Explosive disaster.
Yeah. And you know, it's like, you know, I know you was in housing, and if you look around, you open the papers, you can see all these houses for sale or for rent. And you ask yourself, with so many people on this island, so many undocumented people, where do they live? Are you finding maybe 1 or 2 rooms with 5, 8, 10 people in it?
Yeah, you have it.
You know, and that's happening a lot in St. Martin.
I saw a nice video from Christopher Emmanuel on Facebook.
Yeah.
When he was going to the dump. It's unbelievable what's going on back there.
Anything else I have to ask you? I don't know. Did you think it's important for the viewers to know?
I just want to say a quick quote that I thought it was really interesting. I just want to share it to the public. It says here, a true mastery of anything cannot be accomplished without an understanding of the thing mastered. And when you kind of like, you know, ponder on that, it's deep. Because then it gives you an example. It says, in order for a musician to master the violin, he or she must truly understand the instrument.
Right.
So in other words, if you want to lead a country, right, you need to understand what? You understand? You need to master the complexities and understanding of human beings, natural resources, trade, global dynamics. It's very complex. You need to master that first before you want to become a leader of any country. You understand? And people take that very lightly because you need to understand these interconnectiveness of what's happening, especially with world dynamics, etc. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess they leave that up to the experts like you, and the politicians don't have to know all those things. But serious, I mean, you know, the world has become such a complex place in itself now.
And you have to manage complexity.
You know, and you see, the thing is, you can't insist that a politician have the proper education either.
Yeah.
So people have a right to elect whoever they want to elect to be a member of parliament, who in turn will appoint ministers. So, you know, and I can never see that changing. And I wouldn't want that to change either.
No.
That people should have a right. So you'll always have a situation where you have people elected to office that really don't have a clue of what's going on.
But, you know, I'm going to rock the boat now. I don't believe in democracy as how we have it here. A true democracy to me should be the citizen participating. And if that's not the case, to me, it's not true democracy. You know, for example, any major decision I find that you should have a poll where the citizens have a say because it's major.
Yeah.
If it's not major, then of course you go ahead and do your thing. But anything that is major, I find it should go back to the people to have a vote on it, to say, okay, it's major, so you guys tell me what you guys want to do.
Well, Mr. Amer, we're out of time, and we have 20 seconds in closing. Anything you want to add?
No, I just wanted to, thank you for having me on the show. I'm always welcome to share any knowledge that I have. It's nothing to do with being boastful or whatever. That's not me.
No.
I'm always truthful. I always say things that it is. Who don't like it, well, so be it. But, you know, and so I just want to thank you for bringing me on the show.
And I want to thank you for accepting the invitation. We need more people like you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Much success. Don't get up, hold on there. And that's it for now. And Oral Gibbs Live. I'll see you next time. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.